What if the thing you fear most is waiting outside your door every day? This is the story of a storm that waited, and a person who finally opened the door. They were afraid of almost everything: phone calls, new places, new people, trying and failing. The world outside felt like a storm, so they stayed inside, scrolling through their phone, imagining disasters. They built a safe little world within four walls where nothing could touch them. Every unopened text message was a victory over social pressure. Every ignored invitation was another day won against the unknown. The silence inside their home was a comfort, a shield against the noise of a world they felt they couldn't handle. They convinced themselves that staying hidden was the same as staying safe, but safety came at a cost. The world kept moving, and they were standing still, watching it through a screen, a ghost in their own life. On some days, the fear was light, like a gentle rain they could ignore. On other days, it hit hard, a full-blown hurricane inside their chest, heart racing. Hands cold, mind full of what if. What if I say the wrong thing? What if they judge me? What if I fail and everyone sees? These questions were a constant storm raging within. Every morning, it was the same. The world waited just outside the door, with all its possibilities and its dangers. They would walk to the door, hand hovering over the handle, a battle fought in silence. And every morning, the storm inside one, they would lock the door, sealing themselves in for another day, promising themselves that tomorrow would be different. But tomorrow always felt just as scary as today. One afternoon, the phone rang, breaking the quiet. The name on the screen was Grandma. They hesitated, the familiar fear of a phone call rising up. But this was different. This was Grandma, they answered. Her voice was weaker than they remembered, thin and fragile. She said, "I know you're scared of going out. I know it's hard for you." Her words were filled with a gentle understanding that made their chest ache. "But," she continued, her voice trembling slightly, "I really want to see your face, even just once more." The words hung in the air, a quiet, desperate plea that cut through all the noise of their fear. The world outside didn't matter anymore. Only this one voice, this one person, did. The call ended, but the silence that followed was heavy with her words. Tears streamed down their face as they sat on the floor, the phone still in their hand. Outside, the storm felt stronger than ever. Rain hit the windows like tiny fists, and the wind shook the old wooden door, making it rattle in its frame. It was as if the world was mirroring the chaos they felt inside. They looked at the door, their greatest enemy, their only protector. They whispered to the empty room, "I'm not ready." It was a familiar excuse, a comforting lie. But this time, another voice answered from deep inside, a voice they hadn't heard in a long time. It was quiet, but firm. "You don't have to be ready. You just have to be willing. Willing to try, willing to be scared, willing to take one step." With that thought, something shifted. They stood up, their legs unsteady. Their hand reached for the door handle again, shaking just as it always did. But this time, they didn't pull away. They turned it. The door slowly creaked open, and the sound of the rain suddenly grew louder, rushing in to fill the silence. They took one step out onto the porch, then another into the rain. Their clothes started to get wet, and their heart beat hard against their ribs, but the world did not explode. The sky did not fall. They were just wet and scared, but they were moving. Dea fumbled to open their umbrella, its bright color a stark contrast to the gray sky. Their feet moved along the wet street, one in front of the other. Their breathing was fast, but it was steady. The storm was real. It was loud and cold and overwhelming. But so was their courage. When they entered the hospital room, their fear did not magically disappear. The bright lights, the antiseptic smell, the beeping machine's was all overwhelming. But then they saw their grandmother. She looked up, and a slow, surprised smile spread across her face. And in that moment, love was bigger than fear. It filled the room, pushing the anxiety into a small, quiet corner. They walked over and held her frail hand. They talked about small things, quiet laughter mixing with the hum of the hospital. It wasn't a dramatic, movie-like reunion. It was just a moment of connection, real and precious. Later, they knew they would still feel anxious on many days. The storm wasn't gone forever. But now they knew something new and powerful. They could move while scared. They could walk through the rain. The storm outside visited again and again. It came in the form of new tasks, new people, new steps they had to take. The fear was a familiar guest, always knocking on the door. But now, they knew they didn't have to let it trap them inside. They learned that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is looking fear in the eye and saying, "I am going anyway." If fear is waiting outside your door today, remember this: you don't have to feel brave to walk. You don't have to defeat the storm. You just have to choose one small, shaky step. Open the door. Walk to the mailbox. Make the call. That one step is everything. This is Learn English with Stories. And you are stronger than your storm thinks.